Okay, let's talk about hosting a video using Zoom or Confer Zoom. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to refer to Zoom and Confer Zoom is the same thing, just Zoom. So to begin, I'm going to go down to that Confer Zoom link and I'm going to click on that and that will open my event schedule. I've already set up my meeting in Confer Zoom, and so to begin, all I have to do is click on Host. And so let's go ahead and do that. And that opens up in the browser the Zoom web page, and then I'm prompted to open Zoom meetings in the separate app which I've downloaded before. So that's something you'll want to do before you get going. So make sure you downloaded that to your home computer. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to switch off my video for the purpose of this demonstration. So I have now a participant that I've created in my on a separate account. Participant's name is Joe Student, so that is actually me. And then on the right, that's me as a host. So just to kind of show us what it looks like from a host point of view, and then having a participant in the meeting with you. To begin, I want to demonstrate or point out just a few of the control features at the bottom, and then we'll look at how to share information with participants. In the bottom left, you have your microphone mute option. So if for whatever reason there's background noise, you can mute yourself. You can start and stop your video. Again, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm not going to show my video. So instead, you just see my name there. Moving down, you can invite participants to join. So again, you don't necessarily have to set up the meeting using Confer Zoom. You can just start a Zoom meeting from the software itself and then invite students individually. But through Canvas and for the purpose of your class, it probably is easier to use Confer Zoom. So we'll get more into that during our presentation, during the workshop today. Continuing on with these features, we have the Manage Participants option, which I'm now going to click. And when I click on Manage Participants, I get this window on the right side. And then I can drag and move this around to size it, which helps a lot. So I can minimize it, make it a little bit smaller. I see now the participants there, including myself as a host, and then Joe Student as a co-host there. So in a way, we're both hosting, but imagine he's just a participant there. I also have the chat function, which when I click on the chat function, that chat box opens just below participants. I think it's good to have them both open. One thing to note about participants, so notice here you have also the ability to mute everyone. So I'm going to mute all the participants so that there isn't any background noise. And that's good practice. So if you have a large group, notice that when I did that, I don't get muted. Myself as the host, my mic remains open, but the other participants are muted. So again, you have the ability to mute and unmute. If for whatever reason you start sharing with your screen with a student, or you give the student the ability to share their screen and you've given them hosting abilities, you want to then select more and then reclaim the host if they're having trouble doing that. So I would just be the host and it automatically takes back over. I'll get into sharing in just a moment. So as we continue on down the road here, you notice there you have the option to record. So that's just good practice in general. Let's say you're starting a live lecture. You want to begin your lecture by selecting record. One of the steps I often forget to do personally, but it is always good to just remember that right at the outset. As soon as you begin the meeting, select record. I'm not going to do that here. It's not necessary because I'm recording it in another platform. You also have the ability to do a closed caption option, which is pretty neat. And so you can play around with that to learn more. Finally, you have the option to make breakout rooms, which is kind of cool. When I click that, you can see that it'll automatically break down the participants into rooms, or you can manually do it. Again, I only have just one participant, so it doesn't really work so well in this case. But if you have like 30 students or so, you can automatically break them down, and you can set the number of rooms you want, and that'll automatically do it, which is really cool. And what happens is then the students will be in their own little individual chat session, and you can kind of swoop in and chat with each one of them individually, which is super cool if you're teaching a language class like I do in ESL, or if you're teaching maybe a performance-based class where the students are doing maybe scene work or something like that in a theater class or perhaps a public speaking class. Let's keep going. Now let's talk about sharing. So when you want to share your screen with students, that's a common thing that you do here in Zoom. So at the bottom, you'll notice that sharing option in green right there in the middle. When we click on it, you have the option to share your screen or to share individual apps that you have open. So example, PowerPoint or your browser. I think it's best just to share your screen so that whatever you have open, the students can see. And then when I do that, it shows my browser immediately. So I'm now showing my browser to students, and I'm, let's say, demonstrating something in Canvas, like how to access something in their modules. There's any number of things you can do when you're sharing your screen. I can go down to PowerPoint, and now I'm sharing the PowerPoint with the students. I can begin the PowerPoint and toggle through the slides, and they're all seeing that. To stop sharing the screen, notice at the top you have this option, which I can drag around these controls to stop sharing, or I can just share something else if I'd like. I can go over to PowerPoint specifically if I'd like, etc. There's also an option to do a whiteboard sharing, which is kind of neat. You create this sort of impromptu whiteboard. Maybe you can have students draw something, or perhaps do a math problem, or maybe a syntax tree if you're teaching linguistics, or some other type of visual aid here. So that's that function. I'm going to stop the sharing now. When I click stop sharing, that gives control back to the students. The students always have control over their computer. If you are sharing your screen and the student doesn't know how to take control, advise them to hit escape on the keyboard, and that gives them back control of their computer. So again, the sharing function is super important. By clicking share and selecting what you want to share, and then at the bottom, the button share again, that allows you to show whatever you're showing on your computer screen. Very, very important. And then again, I hit select stop share to stop doing that. Finally, when I look down at the share option again, you'll see a little caret or arrow pointing up. That is an option to allow for multiple participants to share, or just to allow one student to share at a time, which is interesting. So you can have multiple participants sharing simultaneously using Zoom. So give that a try, play around with that feature if you'd like. So in this little video, we reviewed all the main features of Zoom as a host, how to mute, how to unmute, how to manage participants, how to operate your chat function, how to record your Zoom session, and how to make breakout rooms, as well as how to share your screen and other items. Remember when you're hosting, the last thing you're going to do is end your meeting or leave the meeting. So at the bottom, you'll notice the option to end the meeting because I am the host. And I'm going to do that now. Thank you so much. Let's continue with our workshop.